Some of the most common questions I get or issues that companies have are one, internally trying to figure out, what should your marketing budget be? And I don't mean just for LinkedIn, I mean, across other platforms as well. Obviously, LinkedIn is one of those platforms. And if you're considering your strategy and you're in the B2B space or you want to target professionals, obviously, LinkedIn is going to play a big role in that strategy and it's going to need to have, a lion's share of the budget. That being said, I did want to show you how you can calculate those numbers. Another common question is, well, what can I expect as a cost per lead on LinkedIn? And this is such a general question that's it's really hard to answer because you can have two companies that are in the exact same vertical yet have drastically different results. They have different websites, they have different positioning. Their company pages are different levels of maturity. The other channels that they've been running or are running are different. So there's quite a few factors that can play into what determines your cost per lead. Brand equity is a big part of that, right? And some companies have more brand equity than others. So there's a lot that really goes into it, but you should have an idea of what your goal is, and that's usually where I start because if somebody's telling me, "Hey, Josh, what can I reasonably expect as a cost per lead on LinkedIn," I tell them that, well, what is your goal for a cost per lead? What is a cost per lead value to you? So, all that being said, I had created this marketing calculator. I know I released it a few weeks ago, kind of as a lead magnet for people to download it and use it on their own. But I wanted to show you the capabilities it has because even without this calculator, you can do your own calculations. I just tried to make it in a way that was a little bit easier. It's also dynamic, and what I mean by dynamic is it's adjustable month to month based on what your numbers are at. So this is all just to give you a general idea. Again, it's so broad. There's so many factors that go into people's results, but you should have some type of baseline to measure yourself against. And so, first and foremost, the revenue is a pretty easy calculation here. So most marketing experts, across the industry, across companies, will agree that somewhere between 7 to 15% is what your annual marketing budget should be. 7 to 15% of your annual revenue. So the usually SMB companies that are really growth focused need to go upwards of 20% in their marketing spend in order to grow as fast as possible, build brand equity, build brand awareness, and ultimately, educate and ask for conversions. So this part's pretty straightforward. You put in, what is your annual revenue as a company, and it should tell you what you should be spending, on a low end to high end for your annual marketing budget. Again, this is annual, so you would need to divide this up monthly, and then you need to determine what channels are best to activate for your audience and for your offer. So, and again, just put in whatever number. So even if you're, growing company and you're larger, this will give you an idea of what it realistically takes to continue owning more of that market share. So then the next part, and this part's really important because this gives you your personalized information for what your cost per lead should be. So these stats in here are your stats for the previous month. How many total leads did you have? And you might consider these your MQLs. You can consider these people that express some sort of interest. But ultimately, like, how many leads did you get total? So let's say you got 70 leads, and then how many of those turned into sales calls? All right, so let's say for the previous month you had about 50% of those converted and they turned into sales calls. And then how many closed deals did you get last month? So let's say you got 7 closed deals. And then the average lifetime customer value, let's say it's approximately $150,000. So now you have some data here to use. You know that it takes about 5 sales calls to close a deal. It takes about 2 leads for every sales call. The value of a sales call, that means every time you get on a sales call, in this scenario, it's worth about $30,000. Because if one of those closes, again, that's a total lifetime value of $150,000. And the value of every lead is about $15,000. So you take all these numbers and you think, okay, that's a break even number for me. I don't want to break even. I want to know like what is the goal for this. So especially when you're just starting your marketing efforts, your goal is going to be closer to about 20%, right? You spend about 20% of marketing and what the average lifetime value is going to be for that customer, and that's a way to establish growth, have your profitability, and bring on new clients at a reasonable marketing budget. As you mature, it'll go down, right? You probably want more of like a 10% goal. And again, that's a goal. So you still want to be under that as much as possible. But again, these numbers are based off of your numbers, right? So you want to make sure you're realistically setting an expectation of what it takes to spend to get it. Usually the higher number of your average customer lifetime value, the longer the sales cycle is, the harder they are to close, and the more investment that goes in to closing them. So this lead goal that includes top of funnel traffic, it includes middle of funnel education, and includes bottom of funnel conversions, right? But for that one client per person per prospect they're trying to get a lead from, this should be your goal in order to attain the type of revenue that you want. Now down here, you could also set some examples here, right? You could choose your industry, knowing, okay, for my industry, what's the average cost per click and click-through rate that we can expect? What's the average CPM? So if you're in SaaS, you see some average numbers here aggregated from LinkedIn, other sources, and also internal data that I've had available. So it's a combination of those that I ran through AI to say, okay, here's some reasonable benchmark expectations of what you should expect in that industry. So if you're spending, let's say, $20,000 a month, and then you can reasonably expect maybe a 0.5% click through rate at a CPM of, let's shoot somewhere in the middle here. So maybe we say $40, $41 for every 1,000 impressions. Then you're going to have about an $8 cost per click. You'll be able to drive about 2,439 clicks and place 487,805 impressions. So this is to give you some numbers to play with. The kind of overall conversion rate average on LinkedIn's 5 to 15%. Again, so drastically different for every company that it's hard for anyone, including LinkedIn, to give you an estimate of that number. That being said, there are some numbers here, though, that you can play with. You can figure out, well, what does a low end based on these estimates look like for me? If I had a 39% click through rate and a $55 CPM, you'll probably be looking more at $14 per click and 1,418 clicks per month, no matter where in the funnel that you place that. And again, maybe we look at the other end of things and say, hey, we have a 0.66% click through rate and we have a $36 CPM. Well, you're going to be hovering around a $5 cost per click and drive significant clicks and impressions for that month. So this is just a tool. Again, you don't need this tool in order to get these numbers. You can always reverse engineer it yourself and figure out your goals. However, if you do want to copy this tool, just shoot me a message, or it is available on our website on influent.co. Right here on the homepage, you can click on download the LinkedIn marketing calculator, or you can hop over to the advertising page. It's there as well. It actually is mainly on the homepage and the advertising page where you can find that button. So let me know if you have any questions. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. If we're not connected, let's connect. And yeah, I hope that you found that useful and have a wonderful day.